Hello, we're Team 279. Today we're going to introduce the Changdeokgung Palace during the Japanese occupation. We hope you'll enjoy this video. Changdeokgung Palace, which was registered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1997, was built in 1405 as the secondary palace in the east of Gyeongbokgung Palace. Donhamun Gate is the main gate of Changdeokgung Palace. Donhamun is National Treasure number 383 and it is the oldest wooden building among the existing gates of the palace. It is built in May 1412. Donhwa means the king governs the people with warm heart and virtue. Originally, it is a rule to make the 5-door gate for the royal palace and only 3-door gate for non-emperor countries. During the Joseon Dynasty, 5-door gate was built for Changdeokgung Palace like the main gate of the emperor's country. But because the Ming Dynasty was an emperor country at the time, it blocked 2 doors on both sides of Donhwa Gate and used only 3 doors. Donhamun Gate was used by the king or Chinese envoys. The officials of the Office of the Inspector General could use Donhamun too. The rest of the officials used the West Gate Kumhomun. On the second floor of Donhamun Gate, there were a bell and a drum to inform people of time and emergency. There was a curfew in Joseon Dynasty. Signaling the curfew was called Injong. It is around 10 p.m. They tolled the bell 28 times to wish for a peaceful night. It symbolized the 28 constellations that protect the sky. The signal to terminate the curfew was called Paru, and they beat the drum 33 times. The spacious stone foundation in front of Donhamun Gate is called Woldae. It is higher than ground level and has some steps at the south end. This place was restored because it had been buried in the early 1900s, so that Emperor Seonjong's vehicle could pass through the gate easily. Seonjong used the car to go to Deoksugung Palace to greet his father, King Gojong.
Jongjeong Hall is the main throne hall of Changdeokgung Palace. The hall was used for conducting major state affairs, including the coronation of a new king, assembly of officials, and receptions of foreign envoys. The current building was rebuilt in 1804, which is 4th year of King Seonjo's reign, and shows the architectural style of the late Joseon Dynasty. A tall foundation stone was placed on the wide woldae, stacked in 2 tiers, and a round pillar was erected on it. It has 5 squares in front and 4 squares on the side. It is a 2-story hall. The roof is a parjak roof and the eaves are double eaves. Gangpo is the form of a Dapdo style, and the external seoso is treated as a triple ancestor, and one seoso is Ungung. And Chamcha is a bridgehead type, and the head of the beam is 3 minutes. The appearance of the Anchogong on the head of the pillar is a different technique from the Hanjongmun. But the Dapdo style of the late Joseon Dynasty is well represented along the complicated chogak. 2 gold leaf phoenixes hang in the middle of the indoor ceiling. It seems that it was built as a palace of an imperial country, and phoenix is engraved on the answer map. On the other hand, in Gunjeongjeon of Gyeongbokgung, the palace of Joseon, a phoenix was engraved on the tapdo, but a dragon was hung on the ceiling. There are no doors on the second floor, but on the lower floors, there are doors for each cell. In addition, one entrance door was placed in the front of center compartment and the rear center compartment, and the remaining compartments were used as windows. In the photo taken by Tadashi Sekino in 1902, the East Gwangdo Island, and the picture taken by the Japanese man Tadashi Sekino in 1902 show that there was an entrance door on the left and right base on the front center compartment, and the lower part of the edge compartments was not originally covered with bricks, but like Myeongjeong, Changdeokgung Palace, however, after the Korean Empire, it became the same as it is now. Also, the color of the door was originally red, but after the succession of Emperor Seongjong, it was painted in gold, which symbolizes the emperor. There are more things that have changed since the succession of Emperor Seongjong. Inside, yellow close-up curtains and lights were installed. The windows and doors were also replaced with glass instead of window paper. The floor inside the buildings was also covered with Japanese-style floors rather than the traditional stone floors. In addition, the original hall and the hall were separated, but the original hall was demolished and a terrible hybrid waiting room was built, which was a mixture of Korean, Japanese, and the Western styles, directly connecting the hall to the hall. After Gyeongsulgukji, the transformation became more severe. The Oja and 1월 오봉병 were demolished, and instead only a small Western-style chair and table and a large and grotesque phonics painting applied with Japanese gold leaf technique and embroidery technique were placed. In addition, the stone in the front yard was rolled up, and grass was laid, and flowers such as peonies were planted there. Loa was restored in the early 1960s, and the outer hangar around Imjeongjeon was restored after 1991, and Parksuk in the front yard was restored in 1994.
Jongjeong was the king's council hall and his office in the palace. Of course, the king could have also worked in his quarter, but the official workplace was Jongjeong. The meaning of the name Jongjeong is to spread politics and teaching widely. Most of the king's office is located behind the throne hall, but in the role of the topography, Jongjeong was built to the east side of Injeongjeong, the throne hall of Changdeokgung Palace. Here the king worked at his convenience to discuss the routine state affairs with high-ranked officials. Important events held here included daily morning meetings with officials, reports on state affairs and seminars, and sometimes meeting the envoys of other countries. The main aspect of this building is that this is the only building in Changdeokgung Palace left with a blue-tiled roof. There is a record that an officer called the blue-tiled roof as extravagantly luxurious. Notwithstanding the criticism, the blue-tiled roof of Jongjeong is dazzlingly beautiful and impressive enough to overwhelm the visitors. However, this building was soon destroyed by the fire during the Japanese invasion in 1592 and the coup in 1623, but was rebuilt in 1647. A long, narrow colonnaded structure surrounding the hall served as secretarial offices and provided storage. As Sejongdong to his rear started the role of the king's office during the late Joseon times, Jongjeong was utilized to house the ancestral tablets of passed-away kings and queens, meaning that it was used as a shrine. The covered corridor provides the only remaining evidence of Jongjeong Hall's function as a royal shrine. Jongjeong changed its appearance into Western style during the early Japanese occupation, specifically King Seongjong's reign, and lost much of its original shape. The windows were turned into glass doors, carpets were laid inside, a lawn was made in the front yard, and the biggest change was that the corridors and columns of the throne disappeared. Even these were demolished during the later Japanese occupation and the Korean War, and it was restored with some partial repair. But the part that hasn't been restored are the secondary buildings that were on the south and east side of Sunjeongjeon. Though Sunjeongjeon may have changed partially, the fact that it is the blue-tiled king's office remains the same. Changdeokgung was originally used as the king's sleeping place, but after the 23rd king, King Sunjo, it was used as the king's office. During the Japanese occupation, there was a fire at the Changdeokgung Palace in 1917, so the Japanese rebuilt it in 1920. Originally, the ninth space in the middle was the main room, and on each side there was the room for sleeping. Around all of the rooms there were small hallways, and this is the original Korean style of the king's sleeping place. But when the Japanese rebuilt this building, they planned the actual place into a Western-style building. So the main floor room had been divided into a drawing room. The sleeping room on the right had been used as the meeting room, and the sleeping room on the left had been divided into three and used as the storage. The interiors had also changed into Western style. Because the place was mostly used as the meeting place, many visitors came up to the meeting moved by a vehicle. So they added the front entrance for it. Another scar that the Japanese had left in this building is this. If you look at it more carefully, it looks like the national flag of Japan. Normally, at the entrance of the palace, Koreans carved the Samtaegung mark, but the Japanese had put their own. The external design of the building is not all. This building was the place where the Koreans lost their country because of Japan by the meeting that was held here. It doesn't look like it, but this is the building that contains many scars that the Japanese had left behind.
Hello, my name is Kim Taeyeon, and I'm going to explain what Daejeon is. Do you know anything about this building? I'm guessing most of you don't know about it, but don't worry, I'll tell you step by step. First of all, we need to know the actual meaning of the name of the building. It simply means Hall of Great Production. It was the Queen's residence. Now, let's learn about the key information about this building. This part may be boring, but heads up, this part is very important. This building was destroyed because of the fire in 1717. It was reconstructed in 1920 with the materials used from the Queen's Chamber in Gyeongbok Palace. The room was decorated in Western style, like a yellow-colored chandelier or chair and other furnitures. Yellow is the color of the emperor, so only the palace that is led by an emperor can use this color. Unlike other buildings at Changdeokgung, Daejeon has no dragon ridge. Do you know why? The dragon means the king at that time. There was no need to make the dragon ridge on Daejeon, as the king himself is the dragon and he stayed here. The living room is in the center of the building, and the king goes to bed in the central room. And the court ladies would stay in the A room to take care of the king and to protect him. If assassins try to attack the king, a lot of time will be spent to find the king's chamber, because there are total 9 rooms and king is sleeping in one room. To the east side of the Daejeon, Heungbokhan, where King Sunjong was forced to sign into the contract in the representation of Korea. Japanese annexation treaty in 1910. This brought the Joseon dynasty to the end.
Hello, my name is John Seo from Group 279. In this session, I'm going to explain about Laksanje, which is located in one of the Joseon palaces, Changdeok Palace. Laksanje is a nobleman style building constructed in the 19th century and is located on the southeast side of the Changdeokgung Palace. The name itself comes from the Chinese characters Laksan, which means always remain your kindness and not being lazy. This building is for the king to take a break after all those work he has done or to read a book peacefully. That's why Laksanje's roles could be both the library and man's living quarters. In 1884, after the Gapsin Coup, Emperor Gojong used this building as his individual office, and this is also a place where Sunjong lived on after the Japanese gained the diplomatic rights for Korea. The viewpoint of this building is that it doesn't contain 단정 and made as a nobleman-style building, which is very different from every other buildings in Changdeokgung Palace. However, to fully express its own characteristics, the experts in the Joseon Dynasty made this building very delicately and beautifully and inserted diverse types of windows, which show the royalty of the palace. Also, many women directly related to the royal family spent the last moments of their time in this building to become a treasure number 1764 in 2000. This was a short explanation of Laksanje, which was one of the special appearance building of Changdeokgung Palace, and I hope you understood the duty and history of this building. Thank you.